So, Twitter discovered my Tears of the Kingdom review, and it's safe to say they're not happy about it. Despite only gaining about 10,000 video views over the past couple days, I've gained nearly 3,000 more dislikes. I wish I'd taken a screenshot of what it looked like upon release, but the like-dislike ratio was something like 82 to 84%, and now it's down to 55. And you might be wondering, well, what was the thing they took such an issue with? Well, if you watched more than 20 minutes of the video, I think you could probably guess. They didn't like my self-labeled schizo tangent. I wish it was just tendies being mad about me shitting on their new favorite game. No, it's people who clearly don't even play video games complaining about politics. And you know, normally I wouldn't think that this is really worthy of a response video, but because these mentally ill people have taken it to the point where they're mass upvoting each other's comments and making all sorts of weird passive-aggressive responses that were not well thought out, to put it lightly, I thought, let's read out a few of them and I'll just respond to them as calmly as I can. It all began when I was browsing my favorite website and noticed that someone had attached a Twitter post reacting to my video thumbnail and title, I guess, and later someone else on Twitter posted the schizo tangent specifically. And as you can imagine, Twitter was not happy with me pointing out that Nintendo has further diversified the Hyrule landscape. It wasn't enough to have the Gerudo, the Rito, the Gorons, the Zora, and now the Zonai. No, on top of all of that, half the Hylians is some shade of brown, despite Hyrule itself basically being one giant island landscape, which should have people look relatively similar to one another, especially when you have the Gerudo as specifically the brown people. It stands out that much more when Hylians are every shade of the rainbow. Twitter also didn't like me pointing out how Rauru looks vaguely similar to Baphomet, which, like I say in the original video, could very likely just be the result of Japan inserting subtle Christian symbolism into their games, which they used to do a lot. Xenogears is one of my favorite JRPGs, and it is obviously heavily influenced by Christianity. But of course, I also offer an alternative possibility. Or again, if you want to take the schizo angle, this is a result of a certain cult organization full of quote-unquote elites that are subtly inserting their propaganda into video games. No, I wasn't being sarcastic. There's a reason I labeled it a schizo tangent. I realize how out there some of the views I shared there were, but I was throwing that little nugget in there for the stream audience. We like to get pretty schizo in there. The chat loves that shit. But like I alluded to with the gay marriage allegory, I don't actually believe that Rauru is supposed to be symbolic of Baphomet. But considering we live in Clown World, I'm not going to completely rule out the possibility. We live in a time where there are unironic Satanists. Not to mention, have you actually looked at a pride parade anytime in the last few years, or one of these drag queen story hours? They're pretty fucking satanic, let's be honest. So knowing that BlackRock and ESG exist for a fact, yet no doubt some Twitter idiots would say it's a conspiracy theory, it certainly is not too outlandish to say that a company could receive compensation for promoting certain things that those people want promoted. Now, obviously I have no proof that Free or any other groups I probably am not even allowed to say on YouTube are part of BlackRock. I can't prove that to you in any way, but I really don't see any harm in pointing it out. And really, that's why I don't feel bad about saying any outlandish things, because just the fact that I'm being attacked for noticing things, not even suggesting any actions, at no point did I advocate for censorship of a Nintendo game, that really justifies my beliefs. And the funny thing is, I'm not even religious. I've said this a few times already. I'm agnostic. I have been since I was like 12 years old. But I gotta say, these last few years, seeing the world fall apart in real time, and seeing how dumb people were with the reaction to COVID, I certainly have been swayed a certain direction. I won't say I follow any book, any creed, but it looks like Christians are being proven right with each passing day. And finally, Twitter was also angry that I made a "We Was Kangs" joke about the Queen of Hyrule, because it's an easy joke and it's funny. I don't really need to justify it in any way. And yeah, that's it. That's all the controversy is over. Apparently that makes me a racist. It also makes me anti-Semitic. Figure that one out. I never mentioned Jewish people one time. So that was a pretty long intro to just explain the drama. Let's now read some of the comments. So after I'd found out about the controversy, of course, I clicked on my own video to just see if these people started making suspicious comments. And what do I find right at the top? In just a couple hours, it had 150 likes, despite the video gaining no noticeable boost in views that it would from the algorithm. And look, I know some of you people are going to say this in itself is schizo shit, but when you've been making videos for 3 years, you tend to notice trends. And my videos usually don't get a whole lot of hate until they get into the YouTube algorithm. And like I told you at the end of the last video, I've been shadow banned for a while, so forgive me if I don't believe this is organic. This had me laughing so hard, borrowing DNA from the Highlands. I legitimately don't understand what you're saying. Is you're implying that there's a reverse Jacob that invented the Gerudo people? And like the fact about this game being satanic / grooming kids. God, you guys remind me of my grandparents who called Pokemon and Harry Potter tools of the devil. Keep up the great work, genuinely entertaining schizo post. Now, if you're dumb or only read the first half, you might think this is genuinely someone entertained by my video. Because someone honestly tried to tell me that this comment was a compliment. Well, just taking one look at the replies will tell you that's obviously not the case, but do you really not think this is subtly, passive-aggressively mocking me about the "you remind me of my grandparents who called Pokemon and Harry Potter tools of the devil"? He's alluding to the satanic panic, as I said in my response, which I'll read here. Very organic comment, and 150 likes in a few hours on a video that didn't spike in views. Did you come from Twitter or Discord, lol? No, I was implying that Gerudo aren't Hylian / humans, seeing as they only produce Gerudo when they mate with Hylians, which you would know if you actually played the games. As for your other points, you probably support leftist censorship, so your satanic panic illusion falls on deaf ears. I don't support censorship on any level from either side, but I will call out things I notice. And you can see what I mean by this comment when I said these people don't even play video games. I think pretty much everyone knows that the Gerudo produce more Gerudo when they mate, and they're all female except once in 100 years they produce one male for the species. So they have to go out into the world and find Hylians and mate with them. They literally tell you this in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom if you just talk to any of the wandering Gerudo NPCs. And like I said, I legitimately don't support censorship. I am not the Zoomer version of Jack Thompson who wants to make leftist propaganda illegal or something. No, I want it to die out naturally by nobody buying the products. The problem is, certain shadowy groups of people have amassed so much money that they can fund games that sell 0 copies. Things like the Epic Game Store, paying developers millions of dollars to have exclusivity, and then the game bombs on their storefront because nobody likes it. And of course, I have to mention it again, BlackRock and ESG. Companies literally have a social credit score that if they insert propaganda into their products, they get money. This is a fact, people. This is not something I made up. There's a reason so many channels have talked about it now. It's basically common knowledge for anybody who's not living with their head buried in the sand, but these are Twitter degenerates we're talking about here. And so what was the reply to my fairly measured response, at least for me anyway? Calm down, you unwhipped cream. Okay. With 426 likes at the time of me recording this. Now I realize that YouTube shadow bans any real insults at this point, so this is why modern discourse on the internet has gotten so pathetic and kind of boring in general, because you're not allowed to actually insult people anymore. I actually wrote a response to a few of these comments that was actually too spicy even for me posting on my own channel, apparently, because YouTube deleted it. And no, I'm not going to tell you what it is because it clearly violates YouTube's terms of service, but I was pretty annoyed, I'm not going to lie. And what's the next one? Man, go back to 2016. The amount of times I've heard a variation of this comment over the last few years. Do leftists think right-wing people just disappeared after the 2020 election or something? This has never made any sense to me. This is what happens when you spend all day in an echo chamber. You seem to think that your delusional, extremist, communist Discord server is a reflection of real life. These people are the perfect cattle because they believe everything that government and corporations tell them. They're probably vaxxed and triple boosted and wearing masks in their car to this day. Or if they're one of the few that's actually wisened up, they're not going to admit that they were doing something stupid before because that would mean they were wrong, and as we know, they're never wrong. So seriously, I actually want an answer from these people to this question in case any of you are still so ass-blasted by my opinions that you decide to brigade this video as well. Why do you think right-wing people just left the planet? Do you really think that all normies are now radical socialists or some shit? Wouldn't there be rioting every day in the streets in every city? At every moment, buildings would be burning as they're trying to take down the corporations, except Disney, except Nintendo, except any corporation that agrees with my politics, which just means they put an LGBT flag on their Twitter. So, in reality, nothing would be burning because these people have no fucking principles. They don't even believe in an ideology. There's a reason why slacktivism used to be a popular term, because all these people do is bitch and moan on the internet day in and day out, and then they have the nerve to tell me that I'm constantly miserable. You saw an opinion you didn't like, so you dislike bombed my video, and I'm the miserable one? I actually said Tears of the Kingdom was a good game, which you would know if you actually watched the video, which is the thing that tears me up about all these. You're not going to see a single actual criticism of any of my opinions about the gameplay or the world design because none of them actually watched the video. It's funny to me that YouTube disabled dislikes, but they made no efforts to try and curb astroturfing like this. The YouTube algorithm can obviously detect when 3,000 dislikes mysteriously appear on a video over a few days with a disproportionately low amount of new views on the video, and analytics can track when someone clicks on a video from a different website. But to drudge up an old controversy, I think we both know the only reason that they hid the dislikes was because people would dislike bomb advertisements from major corporations or Joe Biden speeches. And so, of course, they don't want the public to see the massive amount of backlash toward the content so that people can't organize on any level, which has always been the goal of these people. It's the same reason why they banned so many right-wing people from Twitter before Elon took over. Which actually is like a whole different subject I could go into. Why the hell do you fucking maniacs still use that site? Weren't you gonna use somewhere else because Elon is an alt-right billionaire troll or some shit, right? I gotta say, I have been tempted to actually start using a Twitter account just because he added that fact check feature, which is constantly debunking the stupid shit you people post all the time. Let's just blast through some more of these real quick and then I'll respond afterward. You called me out on my dumbass takes. You must be a liberal from Twitter and like censorship. Dude understands free speech, but not the concept that he's also allowed to be criticized. Lamau. You literally tried to imply that the game is grooming kids. Also, I hope none of you genuinely try to argue in good faith with someone whose clear fetishes are in the thumbnail and is attempting to point out supposed satanic grooming in a Zelda game. In Minecraft, the diamonds is some of the strongest armor in the game. Was De Beers secretly placing propaganda in it? Was Notch actually a space Trotskyite? There is no devil, grow up. Now, I just want to remind you, even if you think one or two of these are good digs, these are the type of people that think it is completely normal and rational to chop your dick off and wear a dress. And now I realize this video is probably going to be demonetized, but I had to get that one in there. Seriously though, with the radical change in gender ideology and the slow normalization of pedophilia, and I don't care if you think that's schizo, that's apparent to anybody who's paying attention, but you keep lying to yourself about that. Do you want to know the amount of times I've seen some random Twitter user advocate for the banning of Lolly, and then it turns out they're an actual pedophile who's been arrested? Or was arrested after that post. It's not a fucking coincidence, dude. These people are fucked in the head. I don't even give a shit about Lolly. I think it's just drawings. People seem to think I was a pedo for my take on Atreus and Angraboda, even though they're both horny teenagers and probably would want to plow each other. I'm sorry if the truth hurts your feelings because you were a loser in high school, a shut-in who never saw any of this shit. Well, despite what you might think of me, I did know multiple people who had sex in middle school and high school, and they weren't lying, dude. I'm going to try not to get too personal into story time here, but I went to a majority black middle school, and there was a pregnant 14-year-old girl when I went. Now, am I saying that's okay? No, of course it's not. It's kind of fucked up. But when you're trying to set up two characters as a future husband and wife, they should at least have a tiny bit of chemistry, just some innocent teenage love. In the fucking 80s, there were movies all the time about kids falling in love with girls, and none of you guys seem to think that was pedo shit. Or maybe you never watched the movies, I don't fucking know. But what I do know is none of these Twitter, Reddit, Discord types batted an eye when it turned out that monkeypox was spread through sexual intercourse, and all of a sudden, these kids start getting it somehow, especially ones that had two dads. That's interesting. All they ever do is deflect. They never will acknowledge if their side does something horrific. I'm not sure if I can be bothered to dig up one of these comments, but I did see a few that also implied that I shouldn't have put any of the schizo tangent in the video at all. Well, here's the thing. It's my channel. It's my video. I don't owe you anything. I can make whatever I want, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. So, yeah, I don't really care if you think that. But if you really want a real explanation, the reason I put things like that in the videos is to make them entertaining, because, let's be honest, reviewing video games isn't really that interesting, especially when I don't really get review codes, so my videos don't serve the usual purpose, which is to shill the game to you so you'll buy it. Let's be honest, that's what 95% of reviewers on this platform are doing. But since I don't have that opportunity and I'm not paid off in any way, I do want to at least make the videos funny to watch. If that initial comment that I pinned was being completely genuine about being entertained about the schizo tangent and wasn't obviously being passive-aggressive, I would have been completely fine with it. I'm glad people are entertained by the schizo tangents. In fact, there was a bunch of other comments that literally said that, so if you're pretending, oh, Synthetic Man just can't take criticism, that wasn't even a criticism, it was just a backhanded insult, and I don't know why you guys are pretending to be autistic when obviously you all came from the same few websites to shit on my video. At a certain level, there's almost no reason to even address any more comments, because none of them critiqued my video in any way. A lot of these obsessed losers even went to my community post, where I was just pointing out, yeah, somebody linked my video on Twitter, and there's some delusional takes. I just don't understand what the point of this is. You're not convincing anybody. You're just talking past all my audience. I don't think any of these people understand the nature of debate. The whole point of it is to convince a third neutral party to your side. These are a bunch of lunatics all talking to each other. The type of people who will call you an incel when they themselves have never had sex. This is why we need to bring back asylums, unironically, and I don't care if these people are abused because they deserve it. You're really telling me these people should have the right to vote. The type of people who are quite literally not a part of society. They probably don't even pay taxes. Not that I think anybody should at this point with our traitorous government, but these are the type of people who are getting paid disability. Disabilities they don't even fucking have, like autism. I guarantee they're not even autistic. And gender dysphoria sure as hell shouldn't be getting any money. The type of people who shout trans rights at the top of their lungs and then can't even tell you what the fuck that means. You have all the same rights I do. But no, they think free surgery is a right. Chopping your dick off is something that the taxpayer should take the burden of. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? And to make a year-old reference, they can't even define what a woman is. A woman is anyone who says they're a woman. They don't even know what a definition is, because all their words have multiple definitions. Doublespeak, right? Rules for thee and not for me. I just can't get over the fact that these people never argue in good faith. Like the person pointing out that I put my fetish in the thumbnail. I purposely made that thumbnail because it was funny, and I know Nintendo fans and cuckoldry go together like peanut butter and jelly. It was obviously clickbait to catch people's attention. I think everyone understood that. It is a complete waste of time to argue with these people because they won't even address any of your points. Because half these people didn't even fucking play the game. This was literally just about politics. That's it. I don't think I need to tell you something that a million other political channels have already told you, whether it's left or right, that the American people has become completely and utterly obsessed with politics 24/7, including me. I will admit that I think about this shit way too fucking much, especially when it doesn't actually affect my day-to-day life. I mean, yes, I am a YouTuber, so it actually affects me more than it affects most people, let's be honest. But even so, I definitely obsess over it too much. But when I see this shit, it just gets fucking sad after a certain point. I don't feel bad for them because, like I said, they made their bed, now they gotta lie in it, right? They don't even like our current president, but because they have to vote blue no matter who, they'll defend their ideology to their death anyway. And why is that? Because they're all fucking depressed. For as much as they'll tell you to seek therapy, none of them are happy. The men are virgins, and the women have been single for years, especially all the ones over 30. They're gonna die drowning in cat piss, dude. On some level, that is sad. As much as I like to be an edgelord, and I will dehumanize my opponents as much as they do, because you might as well fight fire with fire, right? On some level, I am legitimately more empathetic than they are, because the more I think about it, it is just fucking tragic. I'm not happy that these people are like this. I don't want people to be pathetic and weak. I want people to be strong, to fight off the demons, to go into the schizo angle again. But again, since I'm not actually religious, I mean more metaphorical demons, certain disproportionately powerful groups of people. Which ironically, that belief aligns perfectly with the leftists, but since they have no principles, they don't ever actually fight anything. Except for them rightoids. Those heckin' right-wingers just want to kill all the trans people. That's what they actually believe. See, I'm not entirely sure why I even made this video. I wouldn't be shocked if I get a strike in my channel or worse for this, but I just had to air out some of my grievances. In worst case scenario, this will end up on Patreon because I do want people to see this, so maybe they do understand my actual beliefs a little bit more. I'm not going to pull a Sam Hyde and pretend that it's all comedy or something when most of his viewers know that he is definitely more of a radical right-wing guy, even if he does ham up some of his beliefs for comedy's sake. You can just watch some of his older advice videos and you'll get a good idea of what he really thinks. No, me, I'm way too honest. I've never been a good liar. I will ham up certain shit, but even when I do, I couldn't help but label it a schizo tangent because I have self-awareness, again, unlike the leftists who brigaded the video. It is not worth your time in any way to debate them. They are thoroughly demoralized, as Yuri Bezmenov would say. So they might as well just be bug people or NPCs or some kind of slug subhuman thing, really not worth engaging with on any level. I look forward to reading some of their comments on this video. See you next time, guys.